Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, man? I hope you guys are doing great today. I know my day's going just fine. But check this out, man. If you would, please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the serenity of prayer for the addict who still suffers, and for those of you folks, and for those of us who are still bound down to that struggle of this toxic life that we live in, right? So if you would, join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right, well, let's get started. Man, so how's it going? Today's Friday. Today's day's going great, man. So check this out. I always like bring different types of things to my channel and talk about different subjects, and mainly the subjects that kind of are that have to do with addiction, with recovery, with spirituality, with the philosophy of those sorts of things, different practices. I like to indulge in kind of throw out different things like that to keep it kind of interesting, right? And the reason I do that is that there was not just one certain thing in gaining in this journey of recovery for me personally that was just a one-way street thing. Like there wasn't just one thing that I did and bam, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I like to incorporate a lot of different things, and the things that I usually talk about, things that I incorporate into these videos, are things that I've done personally, that I've read about, that I've experienced, and those sorts of things. So what I wanted to do today is I'm currently in my world, in my daily life, my recovery and that sort of thing. I'm on a spiritual journey. Let's just say that. That's how this time around I was able to break the chains of the things that kept me bound down. And it was through adopting a life of spirituality, practices in spirituality, and that in spirituality could be it could be an array of things, right? And it's not just one thing and you're doing spiritual. You know what I mean? No, it's just like the way that I got to this recovery life that I'm in now. I got there through many different steps and used many different tools, right? And same thing in spirituality. The spirituality is learning a lot of different ways and practicing different types of things to obtain this connection to what I like to call the divine matrix, that divine energy, because ultimately that is for me anyway, that's my interpretation of how a lot of these 12-step programs work, that it all boils down to you adopting some sort of connection with that spiritual divine energy, and how and what you want to call that. Hey man, that's the beauty of it, is that you do what works for you. You know what I mean? You do and call it whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that frequency that I had to dial my life down to get in line with that divine matrix and that energy, it meant that I had to change a lot of things. You know what I mean? And study quite a few things and practice quite a few things. So one of the things that I'm doing currently, I still, up till this day, just so that you know, I still attend peer support groups through the VA. I still do I still do music therapy through the VA to deal with, trauma, to deal with PTSDs, to deal with the addiction, right? And I also attend Narcotics Anonymous meetings. I attend Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, and I do this because I feel that every single program has wisdom to offer that can be helpful in my journey. You know what I mean? So I don't discriminate from one program to the next or whatever, because I believe that they're all great and that they all have this ultimate end point, if you will, that they're all looking for the same thing, right? They're all looking to break the chains of whatever adversity is bounding you down, and to have some sort of community that you're dealing with, and some sort of safety net in that sense, and also a practice. You know what I mean? It's something that's got to be done repetitively on a daily basis. It's not something that you're gonna just do one time and say, hey, you know what, I'm good, I'm here, finally, I don't got to do anything else. It doesn't work that way. So if you give me a second, let me take a sip of this Java Jesus Good coffee, man. Well, check this out. What I'm going to do is, one of the things that I've been doing personally, and I wanted to share this with you guys, is I'm doing something I'm practicing what is called Dharma, recovery Dharma. And it is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a preface of this, of the Recovery Dharma book, and then read you a little bit more about it, and then we'll go into a discussion about what I'll give you my opinion of what I believe I'm getting out of this practice, and how I believe it's helping me, and then I'll leave it open, so you guys can comment or whatever, you know what I mean, and hopefully this helps somebody, you know what I mean. Maybe you'll get some clarity, and maybe this 12-step program or this recovery program, let me just say, they're not a 12-step program, but this recovery program, maybe this one is the one that may help you, you know what I mean? Because, I know that I've done, like I said, quite a few other 12-step programs, and some of them worked for me and some of them didn't, and some of them, my journey just, was here and there, and I'll be honest with you, I relapsed a few times and had to, get back into it and that sort of thing. But this time around, I'm practicing this one because I'll elaborate a little bit more on that if you just hold that thought. I don't want to just go out and say all this other stuff without reading any of this stuff. So let me read this stuff here, and then we'll move on, right? So okay, on this thing here, the preface. Let me see. Let me pull it up. Okay, here we go. It says, once we've made a decision to recover from addiction to substances, habits, people, whatever, it can be scary, right? The feeling is often one of loss and loneliness, because recovery can shake our sense of some of our core identities and the concept of who we are. How will I relate to others? How can I remain steadfast in my decisions? Change can be hard to face, even if we know we're letting go of something that is a danger to us. Recovery Dharma offers resources and a supportive setting for this brave change, no matter what part of the journey you're on. And this book presents the use of Buddhist practices and principles to recover from addiction of all kinds without the requirement of becoming a Buddhist. The Buddha taught that due to craving, greed, anger, and confusion, the mind may be a source of great suffering. With this path, We're using an ancient and proven way to transform our minds and behaviors. We're choosing to trust in our own potential for wisdom, awakening, and compassion from others and ourselves. This book is a collaboration from members of our community. It is intended as a support guide for those new to this path as well as long-term practitioners. It's structured around the three jewels of Buddhism, which is the Buddha, which is the potential for our own awakening and the goal of the path, and the Dharma, which is the teachings we get, how we get there, and the Sangha, which is our community and wise friends we have we are traveling with, and we'll share how we use these teachings to recover from addiction in a way that honors what is wise and helpful for us individually, as opposed to one size fits all approach. And each of us has our own unique identities and life experiences. Some of us have experienced trauma or lifelong challenges due to being a minority in a race or ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, social class status, disability status, etc. Our program recognizes that being in recovery also means healing and gaining wisdom within our own social identities. We encourage you to adopt this book and create inquiries that may help promote healing, growth, and understanding based on your own identity and experience. And so I'm going to go ahead and read the what it says here. What is Dharma, or what is recovery Dharma? And I'm going to read this, and then I'll move on to giving you my personal opinions and that sort of thing. Okay, so this says, what is recovery Dharma? It says, Dharma is a Sanskrit word meaning truth, phenomenon, or nature of things. When it's capitalized, Dharma usually means the teaching of the Buddha and the practices based on these teachings. The Buddha knew that all human beings to some extent struggle with craving, the powerful, sometimes blind desire to change our thoughts, feelings, and circumstances. Those of us who experience addiction have been driven to use substance and or harmful behavior in a habitual pattern to try to create desired change. Even though the Buddha didn't talk specifically about addiction, he understood the obsessive nature of human mind. And also, let me see, where are we at here? He understood our attachment to pleasure and aversion to pain. He understood the extreme measure we are willing to take, chasing what we want to feel and running away from feelings we fear. And he found a solution in that. Says this book describes a way to free ourselves from the suffering of addiction using Buddhist practices and principles. This program leads to recovery from addiction to substances like alcohol and drugs, and form processes addictions like sex, gambling, pornography, technology, work, codependency, shopping, eating, media, self-harm, lying, stealing, and obsessive worrying. This is a path to freedom from any repetitive and habitual behavior that is causing suffering. Some of us reading this book may be unfamiliar with Buddhism or have not used Buddhist practice as a pathway to recovery. There might also be unfamiliar Buddhist words and concepts in this book. It says, we, okay, I just lost it. Where are we at? Sorry. Let me go back to that. I just lost my whole page here. Give me a second. Wow. I went all the way to the back. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Where we at? Okay, I'm sorry. I lost the whole page there, man. Okay, going back to the reading. It says, we also understand that we present in this book does not encompass all Buddhist traditions, lineages, teachings, and practices, and may to some extent differ from your own Buddhist practice. Our aim is to clearly describe our path and practice in recovery Dharma for people new to recovery, new to recovery, new to Buddhism, and for those familiar with both. This book describes the original Buddhist teachings from which our program comes from and the essence of Buddhism fundamental and early teachings. The Four Noble Truths to show how practicing the Eightfold Path is pragmatic pathway which can transform the challenges of both early and long-term recovery. And it also states here, this is a renunciation-based program regardless of our individual addictions. All of our members commit to a basic abstinence from that substance or behavior. For process addiction like food and technology, renunciation may mean establishing thoughtful boundaries and intentions. For some of us, abstinence from things like obsessive sexual behavior. Once we make a decision to recover from addiction to substances, habits, people, whatever, can be scary. And it's also a compulsive seeking out love and relationships may be necessary as we work to understand and find meaningful boundaries. Many of us have found after our renunciation, our primary addiction for a period of time, other harmful behaviors and processes of addictions become apparent in our lives. Rather than getting discouraged, we found that we can meet these behaviors with compassion, wisdom, and patient investigations into our habitual tendencies. We believe recovery is a lifelong holistic process of peeling back layers of habits and conditioned behaviors to find our own potential for awakening. And also, our program is a peer-led. We do not follow any other teacher, leader. We support each other as partners walking the path of recovery together. This is not a program based on in no way, shape, or form a dogma or a religion, but in finding the truth for ourselves. This insight has worked for us, but is not the only path. It's fully compatible with other spiritual paths and programs of recovery. We know from our experiences that true recovery is only possible with the intention of radical honesty, understanding, awareness, and integrity. And we trust you to discover your own path. This is a program that asks us never to stop growing. It asks us to own our choices and be responsible for our own healing. It is based on mindfulness, kindness, generosity, forgiveness, and deep compassion. And we do not rely on methods of shame and fear of motivations. These haven't worked in our own past and have often created more of a struggle and suffering through relapse or discouragement. And the courage it takes to recover from addiction is ultimately courage of the heart. And we aim to support each other as we commit to this brave work. Many of us have spent a lot of time criticizing ourselves. In this program, we renounce violence and doing harm, including the violence and harm we do to ourselves. We believe that the healing power of forgiveness, we put our trust in our own potential to awaken and recover in the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha and in the people we meet and connect with in our meetings and throughout our journey in recovery. Of course, we cannot escape circumstances and conditions that are part of the human condition. We already tried. though drugs and alcohol through sex, and codependency through gambling, and technology through work and shopping, through food, or the restriction of food through obsession of the futile attempts to control our experiences and feelings, we're here because it didn't work. This is a program that invites us to recognize and accept that some pain and disappointments will always be present, to investigate the unskilled ways we have dealt with that pain in the past, and to develop a habit of understanding, compassion, forgiveness, and insight toward our own path. The pain of others and the pain we have caused, acceptance with insight and compassion, is what creates freedom from the suffering that makes our pain seem unbearable. This book is only an introduction to the path that we bring liberation and freedom from the cycle of addiction. The intention and the hope of our program is that every person on the path will be empowered to make their own and to make it their own. May you be happy, may you be at ease, and may you be free from suffering. May all beings be free from suffering. And that there is the introductory and the definition of the program, right? Of the Dharma recovery program. And that to me is all about my path that I'm going on in this present day. And with that being said, it is a to me it's a little bit different than a traditional 12-step program in recovery, and I don't take anything away from those programs because they do work. They have worked for me at different parts of my life, and I can just give you an example. After my second rehab center, I was sitting at a meeting, you know what I mean, at the facility where I was at. It was an inpatient facility, and I stayed there for a little over a month, I believe, that on the second treatment center, and it was I heard a message, you know what I mean? I heard a message. Somebody in one of the meetings that was there, was an alumni meeting, and this individual showed up to speak and give his, to share his experiences, strengths, and hopes, right? Give his testimony. And that particular day, his energy connected with mine. And because it connected with mine, I was able to obtain 10 years of sobriety. But for that, I'm forever grateful for that individual. I don't know who he is or what his name is or what, but I am grateful that he showed up that day, because that day was my day. It was the day that I needed to hear that message, and his frequency was in tune with mine. And that is where I believe doing a program that deals with that energy, deals with that concept of sharing, is, to me, what has worked for me. Let's just say that. And I still attend other meetings. By no means do I not. I do, because I believe that in these meetings is where, like it said, this is a peer-to-peer program. You're learning from people who have already done and gotten something out of it, right? And that is just like when I was in that meeting. That guy had already did something, and because I adopted what he did, I also got some sobriety time. You know what I mean? And I didn't. 10 years is what I got out of it, and that was because, you gotta make it, let me make this clear, is that you gotta understand when you're going to involve yourself in a program like this one, like a 12, any traditional 12-step program, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're going to involve yourself in any type of program whatsoever, and it has to do with you looking for clarity in your life, you looking for to not to suffer as much anymore, you want things to be different, what you're going to have to realize and understand here today is that this is a something that is going to be a change, a lifestyle change. This is something that you're going to have to do every day of your life. This is not something that you're going to just do one time, a couple of times, and yeah, you might do it once or a couple of times, and it may give you a little bit of sobriety time, and that's great. But if you want to continue on that journey of minimizing that suffering, and because we can't never get rid of the suffering, that obviously is something that these teachings have taught me, that the suffering's always going to be there. How you deal with that suffering and how you maneuver your life with that suffering is going to have a big effect on your journey in recovery. And what I like about this program is that it allowed me to get my mind to where it allowed me to let my mind be malleable. And what I mean by that is that when I was prior to learning a spiritual way of living, I had a structured way of living, right? I followed a certain religion. Everything was because I needed to have control and I needed to see that it worked. You know what I mean? So in turn there, my mind was structured. It had to fit in this square box, and if it didn't fit, then I didn't need it, right? So that I could have control. And when I did that, that means I put these blinders on. That means that box is right here. Now I can't see anything past any of this stuff. You know what I mean? So as I'm living my life, and I'm saying it's okay to smoke this stuff. It's okay to drink this. I'm not seeing, because I'm okay with it right here in my own head, in my own headspace. It's fine. You know what I mean? It's covering up the feelings that I'm feeling. It's covering up all the trauma, everything else. But what I'm doing is, in the wake of all of this stuff that I'm blinding myself from, is that there's a bunch of destruction that I already did. You know what I mean? I got my arms are out here destroying all kinds of crap. And that's how I was living. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until when I started learning a spiritual way of living, it allowed me to take those blinders off, to get out of that little square box. And now I'm open to this creative, and my mind is malleable in that way. Now my mind is like this ball of clay that I can just at any time make anything out of it. You know what I mean? And for me, when I was able to start living a spiritual life like that, was when I honestly felt that the trauma, the addiction, all of that stuff was lifted. And I felt free. You know what I mean? I felt free, and it felt good. You know what I mean? I felt that I could breathe. I felt that, man, why do I feel this good now? And it's allowed me to process a lot of things. It's allowed me to process all the trauma, to process all the anger, the depression, the suicidal thoughts, the PTSDs, all of the addictions. I mean, it allowed me to understand and know how to live with the pain, know how to live with the adversity, in that I don't have to carry that with me. I know that it's there. I have that stuff with me all the time. It's dormant, it's there. But now I don't allow it to dictate what happens up here. You know what I mean? And because of that, because I'm now have a malleable mindset, that now I got a whole lot of clarity on picking and choosing what I allow into my subconscious mind, which is great, man. You know what I mean? That to me is one of the most precious gifts that divine energy, that divine power has allowed us to have. You know what I mean? And you have that ability just like I do. You know what I mean? And how great is that we can, map out our life at any given moment how we want to. You know what I mean? And if you get that ability, if you have that ability to do that, why not? Map your life out in this world of compassion, in this world of mindfulness, of this world, a world of love and of helping and just to be teachable, right? And to know that you're not, it's not all about you, and you don't have to control everything. You know what I mean? And when you live that way, man, it just, you're living in this way of now I get to do things. You know what I mean? Whether, before I lived my life on, I got to do all of this stuff now. I have to do this, I have to do that. And man, it just that little phrase, that little word, the little sentence is got a lot of tension behind it. You know what I mean? When you have to do something, now you're in this resistant mode, right? Now you're in this, kind of, gosh, I gotta do this. But why not change it to, man, I get to do this. You know what I mean? Guess what, man? I get to wake up this morning. You know what? I get to do my podcast today. I get to breathe right now. You know what I mean? Versus, hold on, I gotta breathe. I have to breathe, because if not, I'll die or whatever, right? Instead of saying, wow, I get to breathe today. And I get to breathe and feel good and share a story with somebody that may help somebody else. You know what I mean? To me, that's just a great way to live, you know what I mean? And I don't feel structured in this whole, where, I don't know, it just feels different to me. It doesn't feel like I need to do something. You know what I mean? Because when I need to do something, there's always going to be resistance. And when I get to do something, it's just like, wow. It's like you have control, but only of you. Only of what you're allowing in your own thought process, right? And not worrying about anything else is just great. You know what I mean? It's just really a way to live with minimal stress and just it's just great. I don't know how to explain it, man, but all I know is that it works. You know what I mean? That's what I do know. And because it works is why I share. You know what I mean? I don't share things that I haven't experienced myself, that I know to be true, or something that I haven't researched or read or whatever, those are the things that I talk about. You know what I mean? Things that I've researched, that I've put into practice in my own personal life, and know that there's something good in it. And so at any rate, man, I just wanted to throw that out there today, just to give you guys another nugget, you know what I mean, that you can that perhaps you could adopt it, and you know, and if not, try it out. You know what I mean? You can't never go wrong with something that's good. You know what I mean? And if it works into your life, into your, you know, how you're trying to work your recovery with, then great. You know what I mean? It's always good to have other solid, you know, foundations. You know what I'm saying? Or where you can jump from one to the next, and it's okay to do that if that's what works for you. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I believe you just have to find your frequency, man. Everybody's frequency is different. And when you find that frequency that taps you into that divine matrix, or that divine energy, of that, you know, divine power, and what, you know, a lot of people call God, you know, they call it the light, they call it the spirit, you know, the spirituality, whatever, you know what I mean? If it taps you into that, then how you get there is okay with me. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, man, at any rate, I really appreciate you guys watching my videos, man. I really do. And I hope that this video today was helpful for somebody out there, because I know that anytime I hear a message somewhere that I pick something up on, and then, you know what, that was a message that the energies of that divine matrix field sent out, that I needed to hear, and hopefully that's the same way that somebody else gets a message off of my videos. So at any rate, I appreciate you guys watching. I really do. Thank you for watching. If you would, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, give me a thumbs up. Just know that when you do hit that subscribe button, it don't cost you a thing, man, but it will help out another veteran, help out another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, drug addiction, alcoholism, depression, suicidal thoughts, anger issues, sadness, all of those types of things, my friends, because I have dealt with all those things at one point in time in my life. And guess what, man? I know a way out, and my way out could be your way out. So I guess until the next time, man, on When the Smoke Clears, I am the recovery plug.